Welcome back. Day 2. Yesterday we studied what really makes us successful or not. And we said that the answer is power. That this whole program is about personal power, being able to get yourself to take action and follow through. Did you do your exercise? Did you follow through on your journal yesterday? If you didn't, please turn off this tape. Do not listen to this tape until you've done exercise from day number 1. If you did day number 1, then you've gotten yourself to take some kind of action. You made a decision and you used your power. Maybe in a simple way, maybe in a basic way. But what happens is, as we talked about in the last tape, every single day by doing just a little bit, we begin to improve. We develop more strength. Again, like lifting weights, the first day we start lighter and the next day a little bit heavier, and we're going to move to stronger and stronger amounts till we're able to move our life in the direction we want as quickly as we can think it. That's our goal, to be able to use our personal power on a daily basis. Now, in order to do that, we've got to see what normally stops people from using their personal power. And that's the purpose of this tape. I want to share with you what I believe is the controlling force in all human behavior. What drives us? In other words, everyone could take action. Literally, if it's that simple, if all it takes to succeed is the ability to know what you want, take action, know if it's working, and keep changing until you get what you want, how come everybody doesn't do it? The reason is fear. And the fear is usually fear of failure or success or rejection. But the real word I would use for this thing we're afraid of is pain. I believe that every single person on this earth is driven by 2 forces. Number 1, their need to avoid pain. And number 2, their desire to gain pleasure. Those 2 twin forces are the drive behind all human behavior. So let me ask you a question. My guess would be this isn't the first set of self-improvement tapes that you've invested in your lifetime. Did you really use the last set you invested in? My hallucination is the answer is no, you didn't use them at least at the level you could have. And the reason I quote unquote hallucinate that is I found out the statistics show that less than 10% of the people who purchase tape programs ever listen to them in their entirety. That just blows my mind. Somebody's invested money, time, they wanted a result, but they didn't follow through. Or worse, they invested in a program and they listened to it and then they didn't use what they listened to. If there's anything that I'm going to try and push you to do as your friend and as your success coach, if you'll let me be that for you in this program, it's to get you to act on everything we talk about, to keep the ideas simple and focused, but get you to use them. See, you don't have to have a complicated idea to make a difference in your life. What you need are ideas that you apply. And that's what we're really going to go for 1,000% in this program. But the question is, how could somebody go to school? How could somebody go to a seminar? How could somebody read an excellent book and still not produce the result, not apply all the stuff that they've read? And you know what? I've been guilty of it too, so I'm not pointing fingers. I have. I remember I read a book, and it was a great book, and it was all about how to manage my finances. And I remember reading this thing and saying, this is great stuff. I've got to do this. And I was inspired. But you know what? About a month later, I noticed I hadn't done anything on it. I just got caught up, doing things, and gosh, the phone was ringing and I had to do this stuff at the house. And I had to handle this daily. I had to take out the trash. And besides that, my mom called and hadn't talked to her in a long time, and, my son needed this. And, you get caught up. You can't get caught up. What you've got to do is you've got to use your power and get yourself to follow through. Imagine motivating your life as being a scale, if you would. And on one side is pain and the other is pleasure. And your brain is always weighing, if I take this action, what's it going to mean? More pleasure and less pain, or more pain and less pleasure? If you're not following through, it's because you've got that scale weighted in the opposite direction as it needs to be. And if you're going to change your behavior and use your personal power, then you've got to change what you associate pain and pleasure to. If you're sabotaging your success in any area of your life, it's exactly the same reason. You're having what I call approach avoidance. That is, you have a mixed set of associations about pain and pleasure. As I gave you the earlier example, in a relationship, I want to be in a relationship. It'll mean pleasure. But then you get into it and you start to notice some things and your brain says, oh, it might end. It might mean pain. And so you start to make relationships work and you sabotage them. You may do the same thing financially. I want money because money will mean for me maybe more freedom, or I could give to my friends, or I could buy my kids something, or I could travel the world, or I could learn something new, or I could hire this best coach in the world to do something for me. And yet at the same time, your brain's going, yeah, but then I'll get judged, or yeah, I'll have to give up all this stuff, or I'll have no time with my family and all this pain. And so you don't follow through and you begin to sabotage financially. If you're going to change that once and for all, forever, you've got to right now decide that you control the focus of your mind. And that if you're not following through, all you have to do is focus on what's the pain I'm going to have if I don't do this. Most of us focus on, well, what will be the pain if I take action? And we keep ourselves from using our personal power. Your focus has to be, what will be the pain if I don't do it? What will be the ultimate price if I don't follow through? What will it cost me emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, in my life? What will happen to the juice and passion of my life if I don't follow through? If you start asking those questions, you'll be able to motivate yourself. And when we get into the goal-setting workshop in this program, you're going to find that I'm going to show you not only how to set goals and find out why you're going for them, which most people don't know, which is why they don't follow through. They just set up a goal. I want to be rich. I want to be happy. I want a better job. I want a better relationship. We're going to get the reasons that'll drive you, but we're also going to have you really focus on, hey, what's going to be the cost if you don't do it? We're going to use this powerful force within us to create lifelong success. So I want you to remember this tape. I know I've said some of the same basic ideas over and over again. Repetition is the mother of skill, and I hope you listen to this again. I want you to hammer into yourself, if you will, anchor into yourself, that you're in control and that you have the ability to change your focus and therefore change your behavior instantly by learning to control pain and pleasure and what you link them to. Now, where else do they affect you? Well, let's take a look. Do you overeat? Some people say, well, I'm going to go on a diet. Yep, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to starve myself and then I'm going to be real skinny. How often does that work? Now, I'd say slim and none. In fact, studies show that 95% of the people who go on a diet within 2 years have not only gained the weight back, but have also usually gained an additional 2 pounds beyond the weight they were on when they went on the diet in the first place. See, trying to create more pain in your life rarely works because I got to tell you something. The need to avoid pain is biological. It's built into your nervous system. Why? Because it's a survival mechanism. And your brain is going to fight like crazy anytime it sees that you're asking it to do something that's going to lead to pain. So what do we need to do to change our eating patterns? What do we need to do so we get permanent weight loss and we have the physical health we want? Well, the first thing I would do if I were you is I'd find some of the foods that you're obviously addicted to. In other words, foods that you eat on a regular basis and you eat them in excess. Why do you eat them in excess? You go, well, because when I was growing up, these and these things happened to me. No, that's not true. There's only one reason you eat more food than you should, because it's pleasurable, because you like to eat that chocolate, because you think, Godiva chocolate, and you just go into a state where you got to have it. See, you associate deep, deep pleasure, and that's why you go for it. Now you say, yeah, but being fat is really painful. That's true. But the reason you ate the chocolate, because in that moment, what was more real to you? The pain of being fat or the pleasure of the chocolate? I would assume that it was the pleasure of the chocolate if you're overeating. So what we've got to do to make a change in our life is not go out and discipline ourselves, but to change what we link pleasure and what we link pain to. So what if you saw somebody that you were really attracted to and you wanted to be with them, you wanted to develop a relationship, but you didn't follow through? How come? Real simple, isn't it? Because you associated more pain to walking up and asking him for a date than not doing it. You thought, well, gosh, but if I could do it, I could have the pleasure. But which one was a more powerful motivating force? The pleasure of being in a relationship or the potential pain of being rejected? If you didn't follow through, we know the answer, don't we? The pain. And I'm here to tell you something that for years I would have probably argued with you if you would have said this to me, because I feel like I'm a real proactive person. But if there's anything that my research and human behavior has shown me time again and again and again, in most cases, pain, the need to avoid pain, is a greater motivator for people than the desire for pleasure. I hate to say that because I love to do things for proactive reasons, but I also have found that people do almost anything to avoid pain. Now, I got a question for you. What happens when two pains come up side by side? What happens when if you do something, it's going to be painful, but if you don't do it, it's going to be painful? Which action will you take? For example, you might say, well, gosh, if I don't go up to this lady and meet her, then I'll never meet her again. I'll never have a relationship and I'll miss out, and you have the pain of that. But on the other side, your brain's saying, but if you do go up and she rejects you, my gosh, then you're really going to have pain. So what determines your behavior is which pain is more intense. Does that make sense? So let me give you an assignment, and then tomorrow we're going to show you how to make changes rapidly. But let's make some changes right now, okay? Take out your journal. I want you to write down 4 actions that you need to take in your life that you've been putting off. Now, I know you made some decisions a day or so ago, but I want you to look at 4 more things. What are 4 actions that you need to take? Maybe you need to lose some weight. Maybe you need to stop smoking. Maybe what you need to do is need to make a phone call you haven't followed through on. Maybe it's initiating a new job interview for you. Maybe what it is communicating to somebody that you really, really are attracted. Or maybe it's you're in a relationship with somebody and you haven't communicated how much you really love them in a long time, real directly. You're kind of taking it for granted. I don't know what it is. But I want you right now to write down what are 4 actions that you could take immediately that you've been putting off. You know you should take, but you haven't done it. Again, make these 4 different than the ones you already did yesterday. Don't go, well, I did 2 of them yesterday, so that means I'll have to do 2 more today. No, remember I said each day we're going to do a little more. We're going to increase the weights. We're going to develop more muscle, more will, more power. That's what we're doing right now. So you're going to write down 4 new actions, right? 4 simple actions that you're going to take. And then what I want you to do is I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to write down under each action that you've not taken that you know you should. I want you to write down what is the pain that you associate that's kept you from taking action in the past. Let's just get clear, because I guarantee you that if you've not taken action, it's because you associated more pain to taking action than not. Okay, you've heard that about 19 times, but you're going to hear it again and again until you start to use it. You know, I once heard a story about this great minister, and people came to his church, and they listened to him, give this great sermon. And it was a phenomenal sermon. And then they came back the next week, and he got up and gave the same sermon. And the third week, it was the same sermon. And after about 5 sermons in a row of the exact same sermon, a couple of the elders in the church decided to pull the minister aside and see if he was okay. And they said, sir, don't know quite how to communicate this to you, but are you aware that some of what you've been saying has been pretty much identical as to what you said the last week and the week before and the week before? And the minister just smiled very calmly. He said, oh, I'm glad you noticed. They said, well, why are you doing that? He said, I'm going to keep doing this sermon until you guys start applying it. So if I sound like I'm giving a sermon that sounds like the same one, it is. We're going to make sure you apply it and make sure you embed it. So 1, write down the 4 actions. 2, make sure you write down what is the pain that you've associated with doing this in the past, and just be honest with yourself. And if you say, Tony, I have no pain associated to it, well, then think a little stronger. Maybe the pain is simple. Maybe it's like, well, the pain of taking the time. It'd be more painful to take the time to do it than other things you're really more caught up in and that you think will give you more pleasure. But write it down. 3rd step, I want you to write down all the pleasure you've gotten by not following through. Because sometimes by not following through, it's giving you pleasure too. You go, well, I don't understand. Well, let's say, for example, you think you should lose some weight. And that specifically, in order to get that done, one of the actions you should take is to stop eating mass quantities of chocolate or sugar or cake or whatever it is, okay? Now, why haven't you done that? Well, answer number 1, because you associate pain to dieting. In fact, what are the first 3 letters in the word diet? That ought to give you a clue why most people want to avoid it. Right? They feel like they're dying. The bottom line is that's kind of painful. So what have you done? You've associated taking something away. Loss equals pain for most of us. If we feel like we're losing something or giving something up, we feel like losing weight, it's going to be painful. So you go, well, gosh, I would be taking something away. I would be taking away things I used to have pleasure eating. So that's pain. What are all the pains that you would associate? Step 3, what's the pleasure you get by still eating? Well, you get the pleasure of eating chocolate. You get that momentary feeling inside. So that's step number 3. Step number 4, I want you to write down the opposite. What do I mean by that? What I mean is I want you to write down what it will cost you if you don't change. That is, if you don't stop eating chocolate in mass quantities, if you don't stop smoking, if you don't make that phone call that you know you need to make, if you don't start consistently working out each day, if you don't go out and really make an effort, even though it may be difficult, to get through to that person who in the past has made you mad. If you don't do that, what's it going to cost you? And be honest with yourself. What will it cost you over the next 2, 3, 4, or 5 years? What's it going to cost you emotionally? What's it going to cost you in your self-image? What will it cost you in your physical energy level? What will it cost you in your feelings of self-esteem? What will it cost you financially? What will it cost you in your direct relationships with the people you care about most? And I really want you to hone it down. And how does that make you feel? In other words, don't just go, well, it'll cost me money. Well, I will be fat. That's not enough. You got to remember what drives us are our emotions, not just our intellect. So get emotional about it. What will it cost you, and how would that make you feel to not get those results in your life over the next 2, 3, 4, or 5 years? And here's the final key. Take the final step, and that is under each of these 4 actions, write down what will you gain by taking this action right now. What are all the things you'll gain? And make a huge list that will really drive you emotionally. Hey, I'll gain the feelings of being in control of my life. I'll gain the feelings of knowing that I'm in charge. I'll gain a level of self-confidence. I'll gain physical energy and health. I'll gain stronger relationships. I'll develop more willpower that I can use in every other area of my life. I'll gain. My life will be better in all these ways now and over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years by taking this action. In other words, look at the impact of these things, present and long term. So let me leave you with this for today. There are 2 things that control our lives, the carrot and the stick. The stick is pain and the carrot is pleasure. Use the 2 of them to point yourself, because if you don't, there are plenty of other people in this world who are paid large sums of money to direct you. Advertisers do it. Do it to yourself. Learn to advertise in your own mind and take control now. Do your exercise right now. Again, don't put it off. Go through these 5 steps right now. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Do it immediately. Don't say I'm going to do it later in the day. Please do it right now, and I'll see you tomorrow.